Alright guys, welcome back to some more of Witch on the Holy Night. You know, I honestly wasn't expecting another encounter to occur right after both Sojiro and Aoko finally got away from the mannequin. And yet here we are guys, another fight to come. So if anything else, I hope you all continue to enjoy. Thank you again for all the love and support. And let's continue on. Alright guys, welcome back.
Set.
Stifling her anxiety, Aoko fired up the crest on her right arm. If magic circuits were a mage's engine, then their crests were software that assisted their magecraft. For the fledgling mage, Aoko, this was her trump card. All she had to do was supply magical energy to her crest-based formula. It may not have been the strongest magecraft, but it was hers, proof that she was the successor of the Aozaki lineage.
講師2層直流数門
The pattern of her crest shifted to execute the formula, which then connected to her magic circuits. The process resembled trains changing rails, a puzzle involving dozens of circuits. She constructed it as swiftly as possible without sacrificing the quality of its construction. Instant magecraft cast without an incantation would not be enough to reach Alice Kuonji. Aoko had gauged the strength of Alice's defense with her initial shots. She would dial up the power 5 times the next time, driving 20 tons of force into her target. Alice had the protection of the thick hanging fog and the dense barrier around her. However, this attack would be more than enough to pierce through both. If Aoko struck home, at best it would cave in Alice's chest and end the fight. At worst, it would at least knock Alice down from her position atop the clock tower.
そろそろいいかな
As always, there was one guy who spoiled the deadly tension, pulling Aoko out of her killer mode. Sojiro had been looking back and forth between Aoko and Alice in confusion.
それでどういう話になったんだ
He said it like he might ask for directions to the train station. Normally, she would have lashed out screaming in response, but his entirely serious tone shocked her more than it angered her.
信じられない慣れてきた私
It just might be. Aoko swallowed back a sigh and returned her focus to activating her crest.
交渉は決裂ちょっと怒らせすぎたあの子から見ればまあいい機会だし遊園地ごと私を亡き者にしようって腹ね
Sojiro tilted his head, as if begging for a simpler explanation.
私割とあの子に恨まれてるから捕まったが最後どんな風に殺されるか想像すらできないわ要するにあんたも私もあの子をどうにかしないと生きて帰れないってことよ
そんなとばっちりだ
まあそういうことになるかもね
As Sojiro protested in tone wholly inappropriate to the situation, Aoko let another blast rip from her right arm. She was not aiming at Sojiro though. A little earlier in the day and Aoko would have been happy to do exactly that, but now, her attention was focused on the girl in black atop the clock tower. I'm not gonna lie guys, we need more kinetic visual novels like these, because this is just amazing to watch. And read, of course. She could hardly grasp the situation amidst her astonishment. She fired the strongest, fastest magic bullet she had the ability to conjure, and Alice blocked it. That was to be expected. When Alice set her mind to defending herself, such an attack was child's play. But what just happened? Something she had never seen before had leapt to Alice's defense. A team of horses? A plague of locusts? No, those things existed in this world unlike what Aoko had just witnessed. Normal creatures could not form like a spontaneous cloud of fog and then dissipate just as quickly into the night sky. I mean, look at this. Look how lively this visual novel is. Impossible things moved in impossible ways. Alice was not even supplying them with any power source. Those things never needed power in the first place. Those broken and discarded things did not follow the rules of mankind. This was an invasion of fairy tales. Compared to them, the automaton looked merciful. Autonomous puppets were products of Magecraft, but even then they had behaved as puppets should. These newly animated things, however, were nothing of that sort. Empty vessels became living creatures. Dummies warped into malformed beings. There was a fog so dense with magical energy it visibly spread to all corners of the park, bringing with it a monstrous welcoming party that easily numbered over 1,000. Spurred on by the shuddering sensation running down her spine, Aoko fired a barrage of single-action magic bullets. Her impulsive attack scattered futilely. The Knights of the Merry-Go-Round soared into the sky. Green, fire-breathing lizards flocked. The bakeries opened their doors once again, and human-sized loaves of fresh bread marched from their ovens as platoons of newly baked soldiers.
Aozaki, uchiro!
Aoko and Sojiro were completely surrounded. The Ferris wheel creaked as it gently turned. A rickety train car raced about the roller coaster tracks with Kitsy, tears streaming down its face aboard. It was a grossly twisted fantasy. The girl in black reigned over the insanity-filled park. Oh, now we're screwed. Aoko was transfixed by the scene unfolding around her. Then she realized what was happening.
そうだ、これは。
Alice had once told her of a mindster's familiars. Among them were 3 of particular notoriety, one of which she recalled being capable of something similar to this. And it was called
プロイキッシャ、フラットスナーク。
青崎、だから後ろ。
Struck by Aoko's bullets, the creatures exploded into splinters. It was clear Aoko's shots were becoming more powerful, but it was also the case that these beings were less robust than your average automata.
しずきくん、こっち。
Aoko turned away from the clock tower, grabbed his hand and began to run.
青崎。
ごめん、これ無理。逃げるわよ。
逃げるってどこに？
どこって、とにかく行けるところまで。
She shouted as though trying to persuade herself as she valiantly cleared a path. Aoko's magic bullets flew like a scream. Blowing away the creatures that stood in their way, or rather, simply gathered around, she made a hole for them to escape through. Oh, that's so cool. Magic bullets exploded like blue fireworks. Aoko and Sojiro ran down the bumpy brick road. Their bond, forged in the heat of battle, went far beyond mutual convenience. They headed for the park's exit at full speed without exchanging a word or a look. The weirdness only extended as far as the park border, so they would be safe as long as they made it outside. But, speaking in pure numbers, the difference in strength was 2 versus an army. Or rather, 1 versus an army. Sojiro was hardly useful in this situation, and manpower wasn't really the issue here since they were facing puppets.
さっきの大丈夫？上からこう、でっかいハサミが落ちてきたけど。
Aoko shouted as she blasted away the monsters that stood in their path. There was no time to stop for breath or even look back.
なんとかギリギリ。
As Sojiro pursued, his voice too had naturally become shrill. 5 minutes earlier, they had broken out of the siege at the plaza surprisingly fast. It seemed that the residents' awakening deferred case by case, with larger creatures taking additional time.
ラッキー、朝に弱いタイプばっかと見た。
Aoko joked as she mowed down the small fry that popped up. But then, Without warning, something outrageous extended its way down from above them. What the heck is that? It was the claws of the 60-foot lobster adorning the roof of a seafood restaurant. Oh, okay. Sojiro's face is like, huh. Its pincers were like a guillotine. As Aoko and Sojiro cut across the front of the restaurant, the Red King pressed in at a tremendous speed, keen on splitting them each in two. The gate was just on the other side of the restaurant, but they had to take the long way around in order to loose the giant lobster snapping at their heels. Waiting along their detour had been a horde of monsters too many to count.
なんとかギリギリ
Sojiro called out in response, recalling just how narrowly he had avoided his head being severed clean from his body.
手前うわなんだあれ焼きたてか
そうみたいね。要するに下級兵士よ。
Aoko halted her sprint and set her crest into full operation.
7、6、5メートル。あの程度ならスナップだけで事足りる。
Sliding along the brick path, she brandished her right arm. She loosed a shower of magic bullets. Snap was a single action spell that favored rate of fire over power, and it mowed down the monsters with satisfying pops.
青崎そっちも
了解。
Blue explosions bloomed along the lamp-lit promenade. Aoko's curtain of fire fanned out like a beautiful star-mined fireworks show. The toy breadman turned to charcoal.
いける。数でこそ押されてるけど、この状態が続くなら逃げ切れる。しずきくん、そっちは？
いない空いてるここからなら入り口の東側に出られるはずだ
With a magical barrage that would leave an average spellcaster blue in the face, the novice mage broke through the siege. Meanwhile, a single bird keenly watched everything unfold. The moment the blue bird descended into its master's field of vision, it made its high-pitched call. The girl listened expressionlessly to the report.
構わないわ。予想通りよ。撃つこと、壊すことしか脳がなくても、青子の魔力の使い方は波じゃないから。急増の使い魔じゃ、まだ相手にはならないでしょう。
The robin flapped its wings as it tweeted in response. Perhaps it was criticizing Alice for complimenting Aoko. Or perhaps it was jealous of Aoko for being complimented by Alice. Alice could barely make sense of its chirping rant. Aoko Awazaki was a novice mage. Until just 2 years ago, she was someone who grew up with no background in magecraft. Compared to Alice, who was raised as a witch from birth, Aoko possessed far less talent than experience. Winning was an impossibility for Aoko. In a contest of skills in magecraft, 10 times out of 10 Alice would be declared the victor. However, a battle to the death was a different story. Alice Kuronji was not a mage suited for battle. Aoko Awazaki, on the other hand, was built for it. In a contest that pitted magical energy against magical energy, even Alice would concede that Aoko had the upper hand. Aoko's manipulation of magical energy was extraordinary. The scale of her magic circuits was smaller than that of Alice's, but the rotational speed, durability, and quality of magical energy produced, not to mention the efficiency, were otherworldly. That was Aoko Awazaki's hallmark. Though she had many failings when handling sophisticated formulae, in just 2 years of practice, Aoko had surpassed Alice in simple formulae that merely required an energy input. She also had a genius-level instincts and adaptability. Though Aoko was not particularly proficient at executing magecraft, she was terrifyingly fast. If she had been born outside the Awazaki clan, she would have doubtless risen to fame as a competitive sharpshooter.
でも、残念ね。
In a straight shootout, Alice did not stand a chance. Alice Kuronji had never bothered to learn primitive magecraft like magic bullets in the first place. She was the classic puppeteer. Her familiars would carry out all the particulars of battle as her arms and legs.
制限時間には気づいているわよね、青子。魔力はいくらでも貸してあげるけど、あなたの魔弾はあと半時で値崩れするわ。
Chirping as if in agreement, the robin took flight. It had been nearly 10 minutes since Alice had made the amusement park into her dominion. To what would the green fog give birth next? Aoko and Sojiro, still running about, would soon come to understand the gravity of their situation.
Shizuki-kun, 正門ってこっち？
ああ、その店を曲がれば出口だ。
Running non-stop at full speed had them at their limits, their breath ragged. The two flew around the corner. Amusement park though it was, this was still the infamous Kitsy Land. It would have taken a high school student 20 minutes to sprint the entire circumference of the park. And though they were now intimately familiar with the park's geography, it was changing beyond recognition. The transformation was not limited to the park's residents either.
青崎、
何を？
言いたくないんだけど、この遊園地広くなってないか？
It was. Their problem wasn't as mundane as mistaking the location of the exist or getting lost in the terrain. Is it? I feel like that's a typo. Their problem wasn't as mundane as mistaking the location of what existed or getting lost in the terrain. No, the park was warping and twisting in upon itself. Even now, its structure was expanding and growing, like that of a living creature. Soon, the pair noticed that the mob encircling them had grown even stronger. Entrusting her back to Sojiro, Aoko summoned all of her effort just to keep from whining. No one would have thought twice if it had been just Sojiro cowering in shock and terror. But Aoko doing the same? She bore responsibility for causing and then dragging him into this mess. She could not afford to succumb to panic.
大丈夫。落ち着け私。遊園地の果てはある。遠いけど、鉄柵はちゃんと見える。フラットスナークだって制限なしってわけじゃない。外に逃げるって選択は正しいはず。現状、外までは目算で1キロぐらいだけど。
Up until now, they had been too concerned with simply running. Their breathing had become labored. If they had run to another mile without rest, they'd end up collapsing along the way.
青崎、体大丈夫か？
え？
The whisper from her behind pulled Aoko back to reality.
大丈夫だけど、ちょっと一息入れたいわね。
賛成。ここから休みなしで外周まで走るのはやめた方がいい。
驚いた。しずきくんも外まで走ろう派とは。
After saying this, she let slip a giggle. Far from debilitated by panic, her comrade in arms had been analyzing the situation and forming an escape plan.
ちょっとだけ建物に逃げ込むのは？
気は進まないけど、それしかないわね。
The breadmen had them completely surrounded. Perhaps this might have been a problem for an average person, but for Aoko, breaking through their formation to get to the building would be a cinch. The issue was...
問題は、どんな店を選ぶかってこと。
She considered the characteristics of the transforming park. What would pose a danger and what was safe. The most important factor was not the strength or the complexity of the building.
そうだ。選ぶならあの単純さで正しいはず。しずきくん、あっち。
After riding the monsters, Aoko hopped behind the counter, soon followed by Sojiro.
カウンターに隠れてて。
Like she was in a western shootout, Aoko squared off against the monsters using the counter as cover.
ビンゴ。ここならスナーク化しないんだ。
After assessing the current state of the enemy, Aoko sat herself under the counter.
あいつらは？
店の周りで地団打踏んでるわ。 理由があってね。あいつらはここには入ってこられないのよ。
Aoko gave the perplexed Sojiro a grin and took a deep breath. She heaved a heavy sigh of relief and fatigue.
とりあえずコーヒーブレイクね。ここは遊園地の中でも遊びのない場所だから、あいつらにとっては鬼門なのよ。レジスターも調理器具も最近のものだし、擬人化されたマスコットもないし、スナーク化するにはちょい文明犬すぎるってこと。
スナーク？
あいつらの名前よ。つけたのは私じゃなくてアリスなのかしらね。あの子の性格的にちょっと想像できないけど、まあとにかくそういう名前。
Perhaps now at ease from knowing they were safe, Sojiro seemed enthralled in her explanation. Aoko could not help but chuckle as Sojiro nodded sagely. It was certain that he had no idea what she was talking about. Normally, this would have irritated her, but this time she was grateful for the warmth of his strange sobriety.
それはともかく調子良さそうだな、青崎。
Mistaking her smile for composure, Sojiro broke into a smile himself. It was just another link in a chain of misunderstandings, but there was no need to address it.
あれ？あなたから見てもわかる？私のマダンの威力が上がっているの。
そりゃミラーハウスで散々追いかけ回されたからな。あの時と同じ動作なのに物騒さが増していれば嫌でもわかる。でもいいのか？確か数に限りがあるとか言ってただろう。もう随分撃っちまったけど20、30じゃ効かないぞ。
あんた時々あれよね。
ん？
Her opinion of him improved just a little bit.
なんでもない。私のマダンの威力が上がっているのは単純に魔力の濃度の問題。さっきから霧がかかってるでしょ。あれ全部魔力なのよ。弾を撃つための燃料と思って。
Magical energy was divided into two broad categories. First was odd, produced inside a mage's body. Second was mana, which filled the atmosphere. At the moment, the amusement park had turned into a fairy tale land overflowing with mana. Although it meant nothing to the average person to a mage, it was a paradise where spells could be cast as much as one pleased.
じゃあ残り魔力とやらは気にしなくていいのか。注意すべきは怪我と体力だけ。
まあ個人的な責任においてはその限りね。
Sojiro breathed a sigh of relief. From Sojiro's perspective, more so than the monster she mowed down, Aoko was the biggest bully in the playground. He had been concerned about what would happen should her magical energy be exhausted, but luckily for him, she was far from surrendering her crown.
頼りにしてくれるのは嬉しいけど、ぬか喜びよ。あんな雑魚たち、ただ動いているだけのガラクタなんだから。スナーク本体は当然として、アリスが他の童話の怪物を出してきたら、私じゃどうにもならない。
他の童話の怪物？遊園地をこんな風に変えたやつ以外にまだいるのか？
そう、プロイキッシャーって名付けられた私たちでさえ目を背けたくなる反則。不可能な夢物語をも再現する時代に取り残されたデタラメよ。
Sojiro's expression seemed to be calling her out on the hypocrisy.
あのね、私たちはちゃんと現代に寄り添った魔術師よ。できないこともあるし、当たり前のことだけど、近代兵器にはかなわない。20世紀、まあいろんな戦争の後押しで兵器の進化は私たちを超えちゃったから。けどあの子のは違う。どんなに人間の技術が進歩しようと関係ないって怪物なの。例えばあのブレッドマンいるでしょ。あいつには自動拳銃とか効かないわよ。多分意味が分かっていないから。
Aoko casually gestured outside past the counter.
アリスの使い魔は全てが空想によってこねられた神秘なの。前提からしてありえないことだから、通常の物理法則と折り合いが悪い。空想と現実は両立しないっていうごく当たり前の理由でね。
なるほど。ブレッドマンってのはあの動く焼きたてパンのことなんだな。
Sojiro seemed to have ignored the majority of Aoko's explanation and only reacted to the part that caused curiosity.
話を戻すけど、あいつらと近代兵器の相性は最悪。ロケット弾でも効果はないわ。意思の疎通、秩序の共有ができてないから。プロイキッシャーにとって彼らの世界には存在しないもの、意味がわからないものは触れることなく無賛する。彼らに通じるのは同じ神秘を帯びた魔力だけっていうデタラメぶりよ。もう完全に概念空間っていうか概念宇宙っていうか。
Okay, so man-made weapons have no effect, or anything made in this world would not affect them because from where they come from, our reality won't mesh with theirs. Therefore, anything that comes from our reality would be pretty much useless. Got you.
要するにあいつらは伝承防御っていう特別なルールを持っていて、単純に強い力、強い魔術じゃ効果は薄いの。元になった童話にちなんだ欠点をつかないと倒せない。ギリシャ神話のアキレスあたり分かりやすい例えなんだけど、知ってる？
Sojiro shook his head.
そう。無事帰れたら飛び丸あたりに教えてもらって。定番だけどいい話よ、あれ。
Sojiro was feeling pretty lost, but he did his best to grasp the situation. He thought that ploy kickshaws were scary enough to chase Aoko and that puppet from before out of the house barefoot. Certainly the scene before them was the stuff of nightmares. But Sojiro had a different way of thinking.
やっぱり青崎の方が怖くないか？
あんた死ぬの？
Sojiro waved in protest, silently pointing out that she had made his case for him.
あのね、今私たちを取り囲んでるのはおまけに過ぎないの。アリスにとってあのブレッドマンもロブスターもソーセージ屋のミンチマシーンも全部が全部私が撃ってる魔弾より価値がない。いい？あの動くマスコットたちはね、ただのおまけなの。アリスが解放した童話の怪物の一呼吸みたいなものなのよ。
呼吸ってこれが？
私だって考えたくないわよ。でもそれが現状。たった一体の童話の怪物だけで私たちは手一杯。そういうわけだからアリスがあと一体でも追加したら諦めて。
追加ってこれに制限はないのか？
あの子が出し惜しみしなければまだ何体かストックはあるでしょうけど、まあ成立する条件はあるわね。例えば皮がないと目を覚まさない怪物もいる。この遊園地噴水はあるけど皮はないでしょ。元になった童話縛りなの、あの子の使い魔は。
童話ってかけそばとか？
ここに皮がないのは不幸中の幸いね。もしあったらもっと直接制圧に向いたやつが出てきてた。
Aoko continued completely ignoring Sojiro.
話の続きだけど、アリスの魔術の基本はマザーグースって知らないか？イギリスの歌で遊び心に富んだメルヘンチックな内容よ。ただそっち系のプロイキッシャーは怖くないの。みんなそれなりになんとか魔術にも落とし込める範囲だから。
聞きたくないんだけど、そっち系じゃないのは？
マザーグースを下地にしたとある創作童話系。あの子のお母さんが好きでね。こっち系のはどいつもこいつも尋常じゃない。私たちから見ても勘弁してって言いたくなるわ。でこの遊園地を生き返らせたのはこっち系よ。多分フラットスナークってやつだと思う。私も聞き流していたから詳しくはわからないけど。
Sojiro swallowed the discomfort, making its way up his throat. He really wanted her to explain things a little less vaguely, but something she had just said necessitated further investigation. Alright guys, I'm gonna have to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. When we come back, we're gonna continue on in the next one.